Mini skirt on, dip my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Two foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya. Mini skirt on, dip my body
Hello. You are now tuned into the A Little Bit a Lot podcast. I'm your host, Kristen. Welcome back to another episode. Guys, this week has really been a trying week on a personal level. Okay, I have truly been going through the gags with some personal stuff that's been going on, and I have just not been like in the best mental space. So, just put some like good energy out there for me because this September alone has just been like a really, really trying month. Then on top of that, when it comes to social media, I'm already kind of like not really in the best headspace. I get online and men are really getting on my nerves. You know what I mean? Like, we've got Ned previously from the Try Guys coming back up out of the hole that he crawled into to try to, make this great comeback and start a podcast. And I'm like, okay, right. That was not on my bingo card for Ned to make a comeback in 2025. That's crazy. And then I'm like scrolling on TikTok, minding my business, and I see this strange man who's the leader of several churches, and he's being interviewed by CNN talking about a lot of problematic, strange things, and his views on, women not being equal to men, how women should submit to their husbands. And it's really, like I said, getting on my nerves because sometimes, like, no shade, no tea, I just really feel like men should just, like, when are they gonna learn, like, straight white men gonna learn that sometimes the world would be better off with them, like shutting their pie hole, right? We would ideally want them to just learn how to shut up every once in a while, but they are clearly proving that they're incapable of that. So I was like, you know what? We need to just kind of talk about the things that have been irritating me this week with these men because it's getting out of control, right? So let's just jump straight into it because, guys, the things that were in this interview in like Ned's podcast episode are just sick, okay? But before we do that, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, thank you so much for tapping in, guys. I really appreciate it. If you could give this video a big like, that would help tremendously. If you could subscribe, I would also really appreciate that. Your girl's on her road to her first 800 subscribers. Okay, it's really getting real. We're so close to that 1K. So go ahead and subscribe. Like, you seriously won't regret it because we talk about mental health, we talk about pop culture, we talk about movies, TVs, music, like everything, you know what I mean? Like, even down to things that are like pissing me off this week with men, like we cover it all, okay? Like, no stone is like left unturned. So go ahead and subscribe and like join the community and turn those post notifications on. And if you're listening on Spotify and Apple, thank you. Rate that 5 stars and leave a review to let me know what you think about the show, period. So let's just get straight into this Ned situation. With the Ned situation, obviously, like, or the rest of the internet, when the stuff went down with his scandal, I was like also extremely disappointed because unfortunately, like, I kind of low-key was a Ned girl. I really didn't like see beyond the facade, and he kind of had all of us, bamboozled and fooled. And, that's really unfortunate. Like, I have been a Try Guys fan, basically since they like left BuzzFeed and started their own company. I started like consistently watching every single one of their videos, tapping into their podcast, like the whole nine, every upload across like their channels. Your girl was not missing it. Okay. Like, I supported Eugene, Zach, Keith, and Ned, like, all the way down. Like, even Miles, the producer, like, I loved and lived down for all of them. Then, them branding off and like starting other podcasts, like You Can Sit With Us, and having, Keith's wife on there, Zach's now wife Maggie on there, and having Ned's, ex-wife now Ariel on that podcast was like so nice because then it's like we also get every week, a double dose of the Try Guys and the Try Wives. Like, we were living La Vida loca. And then Ned had to turn around and ruin a good thing by being a basic man. And that was very disappointing. So for those who don't know, like I said, just to like update y'all, Ned Fulmer used to be in the Try Guys, and it's a YouTube group that built a huge audience with their comedy. They had challenges and like lifestyle content, and he was known as being like the wife guy of the group. You know, like he was always talking about his wife Ariel, like he lived down for his family. He was the first one in the Try Guys to, you know, have kids. Like, I loved Ned and Ariel. They even also had a separate podcast together. I think it was called Baby Steps, where they would talk about, you know, parenting and like advice and stuff like that. So I loved Ariel, loved Ned, like it was the whole thing. But then 2022 happened and everything blew up because then there were photos and videos that like surfaced of Ned kissing a coworker from the Try Guys production team. So that was really disappointing. And of course the scandal was huge because it wasn't just cheating, you know, like it crossed professional boundaries, okay, because it involved someone that worked under him, right? So there's an imbalance of power going on. And of course, the backlash was instant, as it should be. And the Try Guys announced pretty quickly that Ned would be leaving the group. So that was really unfortunate. And I really think that what he did was like extremely selfish, because not only did it compromise his marriage, you know, and his trust with a partner that like fully loved him and supported him. And like the Ariel lore goes so deep. Like she was also like the head designer on, you know, like being involved with their new office and regularly in their content, like I said, doing podcasting with the company. So it's just like for you to do that, and then on top of that, like to cheat with someone in the production team who was also like very close to Ariel as well, it's just really strange, right? And then on top of that, it's like you're compromising your friendships, because everybody that you're, you know, in business with, the rest of the Try Guys, also trusted you to, you know, not be a weirdo, and now they have to basically redirect the direction of the company after, you know, making the ultimate decision to like kick you out, because that's not good for business. So it just really kind of just screwed over like several different parties, and it's like, why? All for what? For what? Like what? Clearly, like, was it worth it, Ned? I don't know. So yeah, so since he left the group, he has just been like MIA from the internet for 3 years. He's kept, you know, a really low profile. We haven't heard from him. He hasn't posted on his social medias. Unfortunately, then that meant Ariel also, you know, wasn't posting on social media. She no longer was part of the podcast. So then that sucked, because, you know, most of us liked Ariel more than we even liked Ned to begin with. Like the best part of him was his wife. So then it's like, okay, now because of what you did, we can't even see Ariel no more. But on top of that, we love the kids, you know, his son Wes, like his other son, like we want to see the kids. Like now we can't even see the children no more. We can't see Ariel no more, all because you want to be a weirdo. So that really sucked. But now here we are 3 years later. He's resurfaced with a podcast called Rock Bottom, and in the first episode he basically just like reflects on the scandal from 2022. He apologizes again and again, and he basically has a conversation with Ariel where they basically say like, we want to move forward in life, but we feel like we can't because the rest of the internet is still stuck in 2022. So let's like clear the air. Let's reveal, you know, what we've been up to and what life has been like, you know, since everything went down. And they also reveal that like they have not been together, you know, since then. So that's good, because we were all under the impression that Ariel was like sticking beside Ned and that they were still going to stay married, but turns out they've been separated. So period, Ariel. And, you know, just to kind of like give more context in the episode, it was really nice for me and refreshing to finally, after 3 years, you know, hear from Ariel, right? Like, I don't really think any of us were here to hear anything that Ned has to say. We want to hear from Ariel, because like, she was, you know, a queen. Like, we all loved listening to her takes, you know, and her advice on, you know, her podcast when she was still podcasting. So being able to, you know, get a glimpse of like what her thoughts are on this whole situation for the first time was like crazy. And it just was like really, really heartbreaking to hear, you know, her talk about how like when she found out about the cheating, she found out through the fans. And, you know, she first saw pictures of him with the girl that he was cheating with. And she was like so like blindsided that she thought that he was with his sister. So then when he went to pick her up, she's like, oh yeah, like why was your sister, you know, in New York with you? And he like looked over at her and he looked really, really guilty. And he ended up like confessing the truth. And she was like, oh, hecky, no, take me back. Like, I don't think that we can, you know, recover from this. Like, you're a chop. And I'm like, period, Ariel. But at the end of the day, like finding out in that way, you know, is just so sick. And overall, you know, I just felt really bad for her, hearing her talk about how unsafe she felt after finding out that her husband, you know, publicly ruined their marriage and cheated on her. And, you know, she said that she felt unsafe, and the fact that she felt like she couldn't trust him, she couldn't really even trust herself, because she was like, okay, I thought that what we had was real, but now I'm like, everything that I believed in was a fantasy. I feel like I can't trust my friends. I feel like I can't trust the public. And being in that state is gotta be like extremely traumatizing as someone who has dealt with like infidelity and relationships before. Like, that is absolutely like world shattering, and it kind of, I feel like, can alter your brain chemistry in a way, because it's like you have this perception on life and you think that that's the right one and everything's Gucci, and then to find out that it's a lie is just like so disorienting. So, you know, that was really sucky. And she also said that there was days where she is still really angry with him and that she doesn't forgive him. And I love that she basically just kept her foot on his mother freaking neck the entire time, because at the end of the day, like, he forever needs to be held accountable for what he did. Like, he ruined her perception of reality. Like I said, he ruined her trust, and he put all of that like guilt and shame onto her. And for what? You know what I mean? So I think that is really important, because I think a lot of times when people go through traumatizing events, or they've been scorned by someone or wronged by someone, a lot of people always feel like, you know, forgiveness is the way to get through it. But I love that she was like, no, like, I'm challenging that, and I don't believe that I can ever forgive him for what he did to me. I don't want to. I don't think that what he did deserves forgiveness, and I never will give him grace for what the frick he did. And I'm like, okay, period. Like, stand on that. But overall, you know, I think that just with her doing the podcast, it basically just seems like she, like I said earlier, wants to move on and move forward and just focus on making new friends that like don't judge her for her past humiliation. And she basically said that like she wants to do pottery and start a new business. And, you know, unfortunately, she said that she doesn't want to go back into like, you know, any type of influencing, because it seems like she doesn't really want to keep up with like beauty standards online, which I totally get. It is a lot to put yourself out there for constant perception, like people to perceive you. That's really difficult, especially if like you're constantly, you know, questioning like your worth after a man literally freaking ruined your life and destroyed your family. Like, hello. And she also said that she doesn't want to go back into podcasting, which I'm like, that kind of sucks, because obviously, like I said, we all loved hearing from Ariel when she was doing the You Can Sit With Us podcast. So, you know, I think that she has so much to add and so much light and love and advice to give to people because of what she's went through. But ultimately, like, I do understand her decision. Like, her identity with the internet, like, is really tainted in a big way. So I can see why she, like, wouldn't want to go back to that. And she basically just seems like she wants to live, you know, a normal life. And overall, from watching the interview, I feel like Ned is clearly showing that he doesn't really seem to want to stand on 10 toes and say with his like whole chest all of the details of what happened. And of course, it just seems like he's still very guilty and ashamed, you know, with everything that he did. And that's why he doesn't really want to like talk about his personal life on his new podcast. So, you know, that's kind of annoying, but at least he, you know, publicly apologized to Ariel several times, like throughout the episode. But in general, I think it was just kind of annoying to me because when it comes to people like Ned who cheat on their wives, and they constantly, he kept throughout the episode being like, it was a mistake, I made a mistake, oh, this huge mistake. It's like, no, I don't like when people say that. Like, when you're going through infidelity and you're the one that's purposely like betraying your partner's trust and just, like I said, being a weirdo, calling it a mistake is, I feel like, so disrespectful, because it's not a mistake. You made a conscious choice and effort every single step of the way to do what you did, and you had a choice to stop doing that or just, not do it at all, and you deliberately did it. So nothing about that is giving mistake. So I don't understand why he's like saying that, right, in 2025. That's like strange, but whatever. And I just really like that, Ariel, like I said, was clocking his tea throughout that whole episode, being like, yeah, because you think you're interesting enough to like make the podcast about you. Like, and I'm like, oh my God, or clock that tea, because for real, like, Ned is really not that interesting outside of Ariel. So of course, if you're gonna make a podcast, Ned, the podcast should be about other people and in their stories, right? You know what I mean? So that was crazy. And I just love how like there were so many times where she was like holding him accountable for what he was doing and not like letting up when it came to like his awkward silence. She wasn't like trying to overcompensate and like fill the space. She's like, no, like, you need to feel that, because at the end of the day, like, you did what you did, and like, I'm still freaking recovering from the sickness that you put onto me. Like, what? So yeah, ultimately, like, I'm just really happy that Ariel was able to finally get a moment to like publicly talk about what it's been like and how, she's doing. And ultimately, it's nice to see that like she's choosing to remain like strong and resilient, for her kids, to just move forward. So period, we stand Ariel, love you down, like, keep doing what you're doing, like, because it's really traumatizing, like, what she's been through. But the best thing to me about the Ned episode was the comments, not only just like on his Instagram when he like revealed and posted for the first time that he was coming out with the podcast, because the comments on Instagram alone were like so funny to me, because I got a notification on my phone that said Ned Fulmer like just posted, and I'm like, oh, right, he hasn't posted in 3 years. And so many of the comments were like, oh yeah, like, thanks for the reminder that I still need to unfollow you, Ned. Or, oh, this is how I'm reminded that I'm still following Ned. Thanks for the reminder that I need to unfollow you. Like, oh my God. And then like some of the comments on YouTube were like tearing him up. And ultimately, at the same time, it's not like I'm, like pro, public humiliation, stuff like that. And like, I want people to go hard on Ned. But at the same time, like, when you do something like of this magnitude that hurts the one person that you're supposed to like protect and love, and then on top of that, like, it then having a trickle effect on like hurting so many of your like friends and family, and forcing like so many people to make so many big changes in their lives, all because of your reckless decisions, like, I do feel like karma needs to come around and like reparations must be made. And I feel like these are just his reparations. And like the comments on the podcast episode on his YouTube channel, one of them said, quote, because Ned said this, as disappointed as we were that something private became a public spectacle. And they said, the thing you did in public, please be for real. Another comment said, proof that his wife was and still is the most interesting part about him. Ariel was so lovely to listen to in this episode. Another comment said, honestly, you should just give all of the ad revenue from this to Ariel. You don't deserve to profit and market a new podcast off her pain. Another comment, this intro is absolutely hilarious. What is this man even saying? The whispering, somber voice he's putting on, like Christ Fulmer. Did you even script this? And then another comment says, also, it's aggravating to me that Ariel is being so open and honest about her pain, and yet he can't even manage to go into the specifics about what he did and how he justified his betrayal. You want to start a podcast about people at their lowest, how they fell, how they coped, and where they are now, but you can't even fully put your shame out on the table episode 1? Clock it. Another comment says, quote, "Hi, I'm Ned Fulmer. I'm mostly just sorry I got caught because now I'm broke. And maybe if I add vocal fry, they will believe that I'm sorry and think I'm brave for sharing what should be a private conversation with my ex-wife on the internet." Quote, "This is what I heard. Honestly, Ariel has half the sparkle that she used to. It's sad to see. And Ned should give Ariel the podcast and get back off the internet." Whew. So yeah, that's what people are really feeling. And honestly, I agree with every single one of those comments. I just don't know, like, if this was even the right time or if there's ever was a right time. Like, should he just have stayed off the internet forever? Maybe. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been 10 years and I think people would have still felt the same way. Like, they do not want to hear from him, child, and I don't want to hear from him either. Like, we want Ariel. So yeah, that's the Try Guys nonsense. I will continue to, keep an eye on it from a distance, right? Just to see maybe if one day Ariel changes her mind and she does like come back to podcasting or content creation. But until then, like, I'm not going to be supporting his podcast because I don't need to listen to another white man, going through the gags of his, like, mistakes, quote unquote, which are like literally deliberately things he did on purpose. Also, like I was saying earlier, the other thing that made me like extremely concerned with my timeline on TikTok was a video that I came across on CNN. And I'm like, guys, what the actual freak is going on right now? So the clip that I saw was basically about this man named Doug Wilson. He's a senior pastor and he's the leader of this so-called nationalist Christian movement. And it's based in Moscow, Idaho. So I'm like, okay, Idaho, they trying to be put on the map, I guess. He's trying to put Idaho on the map. And in the CNN like interview, he basically was saying that he believes in a patriarchal society where men are dominant and women are supposed to submit, which I'm like, okay, this is sick. This guy stinks. Like, what the freak, right? And he was basically saying like so many disturbing things in these clips. And Doug Wilson was saying that, first of all, the way that the clip opened was sick, sick, sick. Because he said, quote, "Women are the kind of people that people come out of." What? Women are the kind of people that people come out of? Guys, oh my God, it makes me want to throw up. It makes me want to freaking throw up. Like, you're basically just saying that women are just a vessel. Is sick. And he also added that it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically. So he's just reducing women down to nothing more than birth givers, right? Okay, live, laugh, love. And then you have one of the families who are followers of this man. And their names are Josh and Amy Prince. They asked Josh if he sees his wife as an equal. He said, yes and no. We're on equal footing spiritually, but we have very different God-given purposes. And then Amy herself said straight up that he is the head of our household and I do submit to him. So moving to Idaho to be closer to this movement basically meant that the decision was ultimately his. Right. And it doesn't stop there, folks. Okay. Wilson and the other pastors that are a part of this, movement openly said that women shouldn't be able to vote. And one of them basically said that in my ideal society, we would vote as households and I would be the one to cast the vote. And then when they asked, well, okay, well, what happens if your wife disagrees on who you guys are going to vote for as a household? Then that's when one of the guys was like, well, then that's a great opportunity for a good discussion. Right. And another one went as far to say that he would support repealing the 19th Amendment altogether, which is basically the amendment that gave women the right to vote. Okay. And then that's when they asked Wilson, how come there aren't, women in leadership roles at your church? And he basically said that he doesn't accept women in leadership or, in the government because the Bible says not to. Okay, right. So yeah, overall, what they were like talking about in this entire movement, in my personal opinion, is harmful and it's honestly terrifying, right? Because this movement is growing and he's got hundreds of churches across the nation, allegedly. So I kind of want to just like break down a few more of the claims, the harmful claims that were made. For example, the sheer arrogance in saying that women are just people that people come out of, like this is just some small insignificant thing. Like, to me, right, it's wild. It's wild, wild, wild. Like, he is dismissing one of the most painful, complex, and life-threatening processes that a human body can go through, period. And on top of that, it's something that he himself will never experience. So how on earth are you going to sit up here and try to just like make this thing seem like it's so insignificant when you can't even do it, babes? You can't even do it. Biologically, you can't even do it. And then it's like pregnancy and childbirth aren't just biological reproduction, quote unquote. Like he was saying, they involve months of physical strain, risk, and permanent changes to your body. Okay. It also involves pain that's literally measured as one of the most intense pains that a human can endure. And on top of that, pregnancy and childbirth, come with emotional and mental health struggles, right? Including postpartum depression. And it comes with medical dangers as well. Hello? Okay, like maternal mortality in the US is still extremely and concerningly high, especially for Black women. But of course, he doesn't care about that. Of course. So for him to, strip all of that down to basically just being that this is something that takes no talent, just biology, is just disrespectful. And it's also ignorant, in my personal opinion, right? And then, with them saying like wives should submit to their husbands, I just personally feel like this is textbook patriarchy, right? Because it then takes away like women's, literal autonomy and their relationships and family decisions. Like, that's sicko mode. Are you kidding me? And, then the other quote of them saying like only men should be in leadership, in church and in government, is like literally trying to erase women from power. And then they're justifying it with selective religious interpretations. And I feel like that's kind of strange. Don't you think, guys? Like, hello? It's concerning. But overall, I just feel like everything that they're sharing in this interview and like their beliefs are basically just normalizing inequality and abuse, in my opinion. And I feel like the quote unquote Christian nationalist push is political. I don't think that it's just some religious situation. It's also political because they literally want to reshape laws and communities. Hello? And then they're using faith and family language to disguise it as, God's order, when in reality it's just control, right? It's literally just all about control. And all of this, I feel like, impacts not only women, but democracy at its core and like literal human rights. And overall, I just feel like, men should not, right, be deciding what women should do with their bodies and their lives. And at the end of the day, women are not just vessels, okay? We're humans, right? We're full humans with rights, voices, and agency. So everything that they're doing is just really strange, in my opinion. I was watching a couple different videos about this man, and so many people in the comments are just kind of like trying to, justify like what he's doing. And I just don't think that there's any way, in my personal opinion, that you can justify this given everything that I just said, inequality and abuse, like this literally being beyond religious, but like also becoming political and like, impacting democracy and human rights. Like, that's not something that's good, in my opinion. And then on top of that, like apparently, allegedly, he has like ties to the White House because there's some man who like is rocking with him that does some type of role in the White House. And I'm like, guys, like, it's just so disturbing. It's so disturbing. Like, at this point, when I'm intaking like all of this media and learning about these people who support MAGA and this like current Trump administration, it just makes me so sick and mentally exhausted, because at this point it's like I want us to be put out of our misery. Like, the stupidity and blatant like disrespect to a whole gender of people who quite literally are responsible for populating the earth is crazy to me. Like, I just don't understand why in 2025 women are still being disrespected when we're literally the reason why anybody on this planet is here. Like, we are birthing daughters and sons and leaders and like all of that, and they still try to say that we're the insignificant ones, the ones with the reproductive system in the uterus that's gonna be the reason why you could potentially have the next great scientist, and we're the ones that are the issue. And it's just crazy to me how they constantly feel like we're not supposed to be in positions of power, but then it shows that time and time again, when things are led by men, it ain't really right? Like, they don't actually fully know what the frick they're ever really talking about. And I just don't understand why they think they do when they literally, quite literally, cannot even give birth. I would assume that the person who's physically able to give birth should be the person to be able to, like, you know, say what we should be doing and what we should not be doing, not the one that can't. So, I don't know. It's just really upsetting. And then it's like, that's why, you know, sometimes hearing stuff like this makes it so hard for me, like, to want to be informed, because it just seems like every single second I freaking blink and open my eyes and I'm checking on the news, and there's some new idiot who's saying, you know, being sexist and racist, and it just feels like we're literally chopped. We're chopped as a society, and it really puts me in a negative headspace. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but that's that. I think it's disturbing. I think it's problematic. I think it's strange. And if anybody comes up in the motherfucking comments and says otherwise, like, unsubscribe. Unsubscribe, okay? Because, like, we're not about to do that. We're not doing that on this channel, on this podcast, in this space. Like, we are pro women. We are pro, like, everyone having equal rights. We are pro drag queens. We are pro LGBT. We are just pro, like, leaving people to freak alone. And we are anti-control, because that's sick and strange and weird, okay? Anyways, moving on to another thing that's been going on. Good news is Cardi B is finally releasing her album. The day that this episode comes out, the album will be out. So maybe I'll talk about it next week. I'm so excited because Invasion of Privacy was literally, like, one of my favorite albums during the time. Like, girl, say what y'all want about Cardi B. On a personal level, a lot of the things that she says are strange, right? But ultimately, like, when it comes down to the music, like, Invasion of Privacy was that girl, like, period, point blank. So I'm so excited for this next album. And then on top of that, we're finally getting a tour. Like, we were supposed to get a tour during the Invasion of Privacy era. I think she was supposed to go on tour with Bruno Mars, but ended up not going on tour because she was pregnant with Culture. And now she's doing tour, you know, finally we're gonna get her own tour for the first time, but now she's pregnant with baby number 4. I'm like, girl, what's going on? What's going on? Like, ultimately, I'm not gonna say that, like, women don't have a right to be able to, like, give birth how many times they want to give birth, but, like, for churn, girl, what the freak? Like, I don't even know how long she's even been dating this new guy that she's pregnant by. But at the end of the day, ultimately, that's her business. But by the time my concert date would come around, I don't know how many months pregnant she's going to be. She's going to be, like, blowing up as the tour progresses and getting more and more pregnant. So I'm just hoping that she's, like, you know, her health stays okay, you know, because touring is, like, not easy on the body, period, let alone, like, doing it while pregnant. So I'm hoping that she's, like, safe and well, and that the tour, you know, goes as scheduled, you know, even though she's pregnant. But, like, it is what it is. So I'm just, like, hoping that I'll be able to go and we'll just be seeing her up there twerking and pregnant, and that's just her tea. So live, laugh, love, Cardi B. But yeah, so sorry that this episode this week, guys, was just kind of, like, negative. I think, like, it just kind of reflects, like, the headspace that I've been in. You know what I mean? Because, like, it just ain't been good. And the news that's been going on in this country has not been good. Like, it's really disturbing, the state that we're in as a country, and the fact that men just continuously keep being stupid and weird is, like, not sitting right with me. But, you know, we got to try to have faith, and we got to try to have hope that there will be a better future, for my future, my kids in the future. I'm hoping that, by then the administration will be better, right? But it is what it is. So, yeah, that's all I got for you guys this week. I think I'm just going to go take a nap and try not to think about what the frick is going on in America. Because, like Beyonce said, America has a problem. And she was real. She was right. Beyonce was right. America has a problem. And it's getting really scary, guys. It's getting really, really scary. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys next week. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, if you like this episode on YouTube, go ahead and comment down below, leave a like, subscribe. And if you're listening on Spotify and Apple, rate that 5 stars, leave a review. And with that, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Cause I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with y'all.